Hi again, this is Irina. In this second video, we are going to talk about the second stage of change. In the first one, we talked about small steps, but important steps, the 5 of them, actually, to prepare us to change. It's more in the ready, set, go sequence. It's the ready, the getting ready, and most of that is actually preparatory work that we actually do before we even get to change anything. Most of that, in order for us to be able to change, we need to have that done before any critical situation hits. So it's more something that we need to work with ourselves and do ahead of time, do on a daily basis, prepare ourselves for something, or be ready to execute those 5 steps, like get ourselves inside ready to go through the steps when something critical happens in our life. Now in the second stage, I would talk about something more practical, because we are now ready to set up the stage for success. So the second stage, I would think, is setting up a goal. So how are we going to do this? So there's so much literature about it, and there are so many methods, ideas, recipes. Everything is doing it. Obviously, it's not the first time you are doing it, but I want to just give you a very structured way to look at your goal, and only you can do that for yourself. Nobody can set up a goal for you that you feel fully engaged with and you feel completely able to go and achieve it. So there are 5 criteria a well-formed goal is going to really follow. The first one, it needs to be stated in the positive. You know that most people think that they don't like stuff, and they say, I want to change that because I don't like it, or I don't want to have to deal with that situation anymore, or I don't want to talk to, I don't know, whatever person. Now, when it comes to goal setting, we need to be very clear about what we want. And this is a much more difficult task than thinking of what we do not want. Because many don't wants would have to really get together and become really a really clear want. And let's say if I want to lose weight, I need to say, okay, I want to lose 15 pounds. Or I want to eat healthy, or this is not necessarily a goal, but I'm just giving you an example of the positive aspect of it. Or I want to pass an admission test to something, or I want that job, or I want to exercise, or I want to improve my relationship with my husband. You know, there are things that we want, and a good formulated, a well-formulated goal would have it set in the positive. So express it in positive. Okay. The second thing that we need to pay attention to when we set up a goal is it has to come from ourselves. It has to be our own idea, our own goal, our own want, desire to go there. And it needs to be dependent on us only, because I cannot have a personal goal that depends on somebody else. I have no control over anybody else. I'm trying to work with myself, and I'm trying to get all my resources together to work towards that goal. It has to be about me. I cannot say I want to get my kids to succeed in that test. Yes, I want, and I know I'm going to contribute, but in the end it is really not my doing. They would have to perform whatever it is to be done, right? And the same, like, I need to have it independent of others. It refers to other things outside of my world, obviously, but I would have to have control over it. Again, it needs to be initiated by me, and it needs to be maintained by me as well. So I would be the main actor in that movie. The third thing is that I want to do something, have an idea also of the time frame. how long is that going to tell me? If I want to write a book, oh, I say in this lifetime or in the next 3 months. There's a huge difference there. And obviously I would have to do different things in each of the two scenarios, right? So let's say if I go for the 3 months, it needs to be achievable in the 3 months. This then becomes a little bit tricky, because if it's something we never did, we have no idea. We could look at others, but others, you know, it's a different story altogether. This is what they can do. This is what they did. It does not mean that I do the same thing as they can. It's just an indication. It's a good reference, but then we need to know ourselves well enough to understand if that goal is achievable within the time frame that we chose. But we need a time frame, and we need to really feel it's achievable for us within that time frame. The fourth one is, this is really a charming way to look at goals, and especially in business, we do not have the habit of looking at goals that way, but it is what really makes them happen. It has to have a sensory-based description. As long as we can involve our 5 senses and be able to have an understanding from all the 5 angles of what we want to achieve, that vision becomes so much more powerful. It's like we were talking in the first video about a vision and how to make it strong, and this is really what gives it power. Because as long as I am able to take myself and feel myself in that outcome at the end of my 3 months, if I want to write a book and I can project myself 3 months from now having had that book written already, and feel as if I have it already done. Again, what do I feel? Where am I? What do I see? What does it smell like where I am? How do I really engage all my senses in that outcome? How do I live the outcome, right? And this, you might say, you said the same thing about the vision. Yes, but that's the big picture. Now we are executing stuff. We know that if that is my vision, I could have different goals, and I have different time frames to reach each of them. And this is for the next 3 months. I want to do this. Whatever I do, I would have to have this complete perspective of all my senses engaged in that description of the goal. I know exactly what is it like, what it feels like. I'm living it. I know exactly what it is. So this is what really makes it powerful and motivating enough. And it's going to also make it a lot easier to and pleasurable to follow through. Okay, and then the last one, the 5th criteria, is that as opposed to being achievable, it has to be achievable, okay? But it has to be big enough to be motivating. If it's something too small, it's something, oh, okay, it's easy anyways, it's not going to feel motivating. It's not going to trigger that, sense of excitement. Okay, I'm doing something, this is big, and look, like every step I take, it's important. I see it makes a difference. Wow, this is big, Cannot be too big, obviously. It's going to feel demotivating. But when it's the appropriate chunk size, it really gives you that, boost. You feel like it's worth it. You feel like you're making progress, and you feel it's good for you. And that keeps you going. Obviously, especially if this is part of a longer process, the more you do, the better you feel about your achievements as well. So that would be about the goal. If we are to recap the 5 criteria, they would be stated in the positive. It has to be initiated and maintained by yourself. Don't make it dependent on anybody else. It would be achievable within the time frame, so you need a time frame, and you have to feel that you can actually do it within the time frame. It needs to be sensory-based description. You need to have a sensory-based description. It has to have that type of description around it, and it needs to be big enough to motivate you to go through with the whole process. So that will be about the goal. Now, I just want to talk a little bit more on the side of motivation and how to wake up in yourself all those little things that make you move, that make you really want to go about it today. And there are so many questions that can help you discover the path to whatever moves you. And thinking of your goal and thinking of how it is to actually have it already, you can ask yourself, so what is important about that? Because maybe you want something, but what is it under? It's always something practical that we want, but going a little bit inside, it's always useful to understand why we want it. What kind of desire and of need do we have inside that taken outside takes this shape of this goal that I just set for myself. So going slowly inside, we would have a sequence of questions that would help us understand why we desire that type of outcome and that specific outcome. So that would be, what will you see when you have already that outcome? And what would others see in you and around you, like when they look at your vision of you having that goal already accomplished? What do they see? How do they perceive you? And then how would that make a difference in your life? What would be the areas of your life that would be impacted by this? And how would that impact your relationships with others, with yourself, which is the most important relationship? How would that impact your finances? And understand what it takes actually to get there, how is that motivating to go, and how much it costs you not to go through it. That is really going to add to your motivation, because every day you are not working towards your goal, it is a day that keeps you away from that vision and that feeling at the end of the road. So work your path inside, and as much as you can, discover what type of need it is that initiated that goal, and that's going to make you feel a lot better, because you understand how you're addressing authentic needs inside yourself, and it's not really a superficial goal that you're just going after because others do it, or it's part of a plan coming from somewhere else. It really goes deep inside of you, and you're going to feel so much better because you put yourself first, and you feel that you're working for yourself, and that is priceless. It's a priceless feeling. Okay, so that was video number 2. I hope you enjoyed it. You got the 5 steps, and you are with me when it comes to the senses and how to uncover what's really huge motivating you under everything. And I'll see you in the 3rd video. Bye.